It has taken me, and I kid you not, like a week and a half to figure out what craft we're gonna do today. And I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of like a panic choice, not necessarily the kind of thing that I would normally do for you, but I am hardcore burnout on crafts. When I get like this, usually I just knit, but teaching you guys to knit on a screen is not easy, so we're not going to do a knitting video unless you beg me for it, because that's going to involve me having to try and find a way to position a camera over my head pointed at my hands, and I don't know how to do that. I might need some professional help for that. So when I get stumped, I go on the Pinterest and I say, Pinterest, help Laura. And it was of no help this time. Everything people are making is macrame and weaving. We have done both of those. String art is now popular. Stay tuned. And I don't necessarily want you guys to have to go out and buy a lot of supplies for these. I want you to be able to use things that you can find at your house. So short of doing umpteen million origami videos, I'm kind of at a place where we're gonna have to start getting creative on printing things from the internet. So today we are going to use some of these templates. I like people who share templates on the internet. Sometimes you've got to subscribe to their newsletter. This is one of those. But you can get your hands on their templates and then you can unsubscribe from their newsletter, which is fine. I'm a Ravenclaw, so this is what we're making. We're making a Hogwarts notebook. These come with every Hogwarts house, if that's your game. If it's not your game, you can do this exact same thing without the download. In fact, it would be easier because you could just use a paper you like, scrapbook paper that you have on hand. So I'm gonna use a download, you don't have to. That's where we are. So you need a composition notebook for this, but if you wanna do some other different paper, you don't need a composition notebook. You can use any notebook that has a paper cover, even if it's glossy. Just don't use a plastic cover because the plastic cover won't glue as well. You need sandpaper if your notebook is glossy, like this one is. If it's matte, I don't think you need it. If it's not sticking well, maybe you do, but matte surfaces tend to take glue better. You need glue. You can use a wet glue or a glue stick or Mod Podge. Up to you, anything you've got on hand. This is the kind of level of supplies I want for you guys, because I could easily be like, oh, we're gonna make hair things. But you'd have to get the acrylic to melt to put into a mold for this and the metal piece to stick on the back. I don't want you guys to have to buy a bunch of stuff. So we're gonna try and be creative with what we've got on hand. And what that might mean going forward is that I panic and do origami. And I've already decided that the next time I do origami, I'm not gonna teach myself how to do it ahead of time. I'm gonna show you my suffering because I feel like that will be funnier. Okay, composition notebook. Sandpaper, glue, scissors, template, printout thing, or scrapbook paper. And if you use scrapbook paper, you want a pen, pencil, marker, something like that. If you're gonna use your own paper, take your paper, put your notebook on top of your paper, and trace it, and then cut it out. When you trace it, you can either trace the whole cover, have it like stretched out flat like that and trace the whole cover, or you can do what I do because I find that putting something over this is not as easy as you'd like it to be. So when I trace it, I make sure that the edge is hanging out over there like that. And she's already done that for us with this template, so we don't have to worry about that. But if you say have your own paper, line it up right there so that that edge is sticking out, and then trace what's hanging out over the edge and cut that off. But like I said, she kind of did that for us already with this. So if you're using a pre-designed template, just cut it out. It's thrilling, I know. If you have a paper cutter or one of those little paper trimmer things where you can lay your paper down and just go along an edge real quick in one quick line, do that. That's great. I have one of those somewhere in this building. It used to be here in the makerspace, but I feel like a coworker borrowed it from the makerspace, and it's probably being used right now. Or it's forgotten on their desk, which is cool too, because I'm not going to tell you the number of times that I have taken something out of the craft area and it has found a home on my desk while I continued to use it, or while I had completely forgotten its existence. I do it at home too. Take scissors out of the drawer. 3 months later, realize that I still have the scissors. Oops. Okay, we cut it out. Now you can't just immediately, oh, look at that. It doesn't fit. See, we'll have to trim this anyway. That's okay. We'll trim it. But before we trim it, you're gonna wanna distress this a little bit with your sandpaper. Just rub it with the sandpaper. What you're doing is making it scratchy like that so that it's not glossy, and things are going to want to stick to it better than they would if you had a glossy surface. You don't have to go crazy. Just take the gloss off so it's not shiny anymore. It will get you kind of gloopy. Just dust that off. And then you're going to want to take something and wipe this off before you glue anything to it, because otherwise it's going to stick in the gloop, sandy nastiness, and not to the paper. So I'm going to get one of those. We have Kleenex. Kleenex is great. We like Kleenex. We're just wiping the surface. See how you're getting the printed ink of that? So that's one side done, and I'm just gonna quickly do the other side too. Ooh. Okay, again, doesn't have to be completely done, just enough that you dust it off and you can move on with your life. Now I brought a pen over with me because I didn't have a pen with ink in it. This doesn't have any ink anymore. It's very dry. Try and draw on stuff and it doesn't make a mark. It's sad. So that needs to get thrown away. So goodbye to that. Goodbye. Okay. I have this now. It's been cut a little. Probably shouldn't have bothered to cut it, honestly, because it tragically needs trimmed again. I'm gonna line it up over here with the black edge of my thing. Lay it face down and just quickly trace it with my little pen here. Bam. Now I cut on that line, which I should have done before, but I trusted and I shouldn't have trusted. That probably means that this notebook cover is not actually designed for a composition notebook. It's designed for a regular ruled notebook, which makes your life easier if you choose to download this template. Does not make my life easier now, but it's okay. We'll live. You're gonna be tempted. The temptation. Stick glue all over this. And if you do that, it will dry before you get this all the way on. It's just a thing. So what I do instead is I line it up on the back of my little notebook here, the way I want it to be. I say to myself, didn't you measure that? Didn't you trace it? Because it's still slightly too big. We'll trim it, it'll be fine. And then, when it is lined up, you bend part of it back, stick some glue on the part of it, lay it down, and just work your way down so that that is smooth. It's a thing that happens. It's fine. Glue. Lay it down. If you use a super wet glue and you've printed something on a printer that is standard, it might get wavy. So just put some pressure on it. And what you've done is you've glued part, but not the whole thing, so that you can kind of keep your hand on this, manage this properly, make it nice. Don't end up having it patchy, wobbly, gross. We don't want that. And once you've had that, smooth out the rest in place, and you've got it glued. That's the back. And when you repeat it with the front, you get this action. That was a little switch out, magical switch out. You can put your name on there. You could put a character's name on there. Like this is Luna Lovegood's book for herbology or something. I don't know. It's fun. So composition notebooks are usually like under $1. I usually pick them up when school gets back in session for 50 cents in the sale, which is great. But you can get them pretty cheap all year long. And tons of paper. You don't even have to use it for school. You can use it for a journal or something like that. So it's a fun thing to do. And of course, you can use any kind of paper that you have on hand, like a scrapbook paper or whatever else you like. And if you want it to be super sturdy and never get scratched or never get messed up, you can take some Mod Podge and paint over the surface of this. But I don't bother with that because a normal notebook would wear, and I don't need this to last forever. I need this to last until I fill it up, and then it can go on a shelf or be recycled. So it's not the end of the world to have it just standard paper. That's a craft. And if you have any ideas for fun things we can do on these with everyday objects you have in your house, pop it in the comments and help me get out of my craft rut. First I was in a reading rut, then I was in a knitting rut, and now I'm in a crafting rut. So apparently I need to visit a craft store and get inspired, but it's still COVID, so I'm stuck. I will see you next time.